On the Where's the Game Now segment this week, I'm going to take a look at one of the hot games from 5 years ago, Yedo, one of the early Pandasaurus games that helped make them the legitimate publisher they are today. Yedo is designed by duo Thomas Ginst and Wolf Planck, a couple of designers who have only ever published games together. Yedo remains their biggest hit 5 years later, the next closest being the not-well-received Kill Shakespeare. Yedo was originally released in a small quantity at Essen 2012, and was one of those titles that started to get some buzz from hardcore gamers, spreading the word as it made its way through a very limited circulation. Pandasaurus picked it up later, promised a North American release, and then gamers started getting really excited. It appeared at position number 17 on the June 2013 Buzz list, when it was suddenly added to over 800 user wish lists. It hit retail a few months later, and debuted at position number 48 on the September Most Purchased list. But this is where the history of the game starts to define itself as a game that has always performed better critically than commercially. You see, that initial debut was the only time it appeared on the Most Purchased list, as it dropped off the list the very next month and never made another appearance. It just missed the September Top 50 Up-and-Comers list, appearing at what it would have been position number 54 on that list, and has never landed on the Most Played list. But the game has a devoted following. It is still getting logged plays by over 40 unique gamers each month, which puts it comfortably out of reach of what I would define as a game that has become obscure over the years. Indeed, it's even managed to amass a respectable lifetime tally of total logged plays through consistent play by this devoted following. There's an interesting geek list that ran for a while called the Best of Compilation list that analyzed the best of the year list from both major and casual reviewers and ranked the games released that year on the frequency and position that the games appeared on the various best of lists. Yedo just barely made the cut for the compilation list at position number 93, which put it in the same vicinity as a couple of other interesting games of note, Clash of Cultures, which went on to perform better critically, and Rise of Augustus, which went on to perform really well commercially. Currently, Yedo is ranked as the 471st best game of all time on BGG, which as a top 500 game, puts it in very elite company. But what happened to the game so that it never took off commercially? Most of the problem for Yedo derives from the game that Yedo is most often compared to, Lords of Waterdeep. Before Champions of Midgard came out, Yedo was people's favorite game to compare to Lords of Waterdeep, and it even earned the foolish Lords of Waterdeep Killer moniker from a few overly excited players. In my opinion, Yedo deserves to be compared to Lords of Waterdeep way more than Champions of Midgard does. A lot of reviewers over the year have called Yedo a Japanese-themed Lords of Waterdeep, and the comparison is not completely inaccurate, as Yedo tasks players to gather various types of resources and fulfill quests with them. This is also done in a worker placement mechanic framework. The quests are more complicated than the ones in Lords of Waterdeep. There are more worker placement spots, and there are considerably more resources to work with, and many of them have multiple purposes in addition to potentially being used to fulfill quests. This makes Yedo a more complex game, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Tom Vasel had high praise for Yedo when it came out, and encouraged gamers who found Lords of Waterdeep too light to give Yedo a try. But Yedo is also a considerably longer game, which is what I think is the other important nail in the coffin to consider when determining why Yedo never really took off. Lords of Waterdeep offers a similar experience at a much brisker pace. And that's an important distinction to keep in mind. When I demoed Yedo early in the year, with 5 players, it took between 3 and 4 hours to finish. That's a serious time commitment for a worker placement game. It was a good experience, don't get me wrong, and it's one that I won't mind repeating on occasion. But that's the key phrase, on occasion. That's not a game I, or apparently anyone else, feels the need to play very often. It's the sort of game that if one person owns in a game group, no one else in the game group is going to feel the need to own it as well. It's the sort of game I see crop up consistently on the Out of the Dusk geek lists. Well, that will do it for episode 14. Thanks for joining me. Feel free to join the Out of the Dusk Podcast Guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at OutofTheDuskBGG. Leave a comment at the Guild. PM me on BGG under user handle Radagast14. Or email me at radagast14@CenturyLink.net. And join the Out of the Dusk conversation yourself at our monthly geek list at BGG. Alright, play me out, Tananda.